Yeah. Hey, everybody, it's the Combatcast with the man called Dave and Chevy. Please like, subscribe if you enjoy our content. And speaking of content, we're going to talk about this past week's Fight Night, Whitaker versus D. Ridwer. And we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night, whatever this card ends up being. Taira.
Yeah.
Taira versus Park, yeah. But, Chevy, why don't we tell people what we got coming up first?
All right. After this shit card, we'll be talking about a different shit card. August 9th, UFC Fight Night, Dolidez versus Fluffy Hernandez. At least that one has an interesting main event. 7 p.m., another Apex card, of course. And then August 16th, UFC 319, Duplessis versus Chimaev. 10 p.m. Chicago. I assume Chimaev will pull out. And then August 23rd, UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Zhang, 7 a.m. China. Let's fucking go.
Chimaev and Whitaker. That's in Chicago, right? You said?
Duplessis.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of
Chicago.
Okay, because the pay-per-view after that, I think, is in Abu Dhabi. And they're going to have like a 2 or 3 o'clock time. So I was excited to hear that was coming up there. So
cool.
Something we can look forward to down the road. All right, let's before we get to this shitty Fight Night card, let's start with a Fight Night card that wasn't as bad. It had its moments. Whitaker versus De Ridwer. Chevy, what do you think about some of the fights on this card first?
There were some. There's a lot of decisions on this card, but there's some good fights. Bryce Mitchell made his bantamweight debut over Said Nurmagomedov. He got a decision win. So getting a decision win over Magomedov in the Middle East is an impressive feat.
It is.
He's really only lost to the top guys. So he lost to Elliott.
And Danny Silva, who is looking like a star at this point,
and Ilya. So all champion level fighters for sure. So
and Josh Emmett has that power that can just lay you out, which is what happened there.
Oh yeah. That was a brutal knockout. Shara Bullet, the redheaded pirate, he got a decision, fought through some adversity over Marc-Andre Barrio. That was pretty good. Stephen Nguyen TKO'd Muhammad Yahya. So Yahya, I believe he's from the UAE, which is where these fights took place. And unfortunately for him, Stephen Nguyen set a record. I think it was 6 or 7 knockdowns in the single fight. Most of those, I think all but one of them came in the first round, by the way. He just knocked him around the ring and then knocked him down again early in the second round. And then Yaya's eye, I don't know if you saw this fight, but his eye swole up. It was literally the size of a baseball on his eye. It was brutal. And then they ended up having to stop the fight due to that eye. You couldn't see out of it.
I heard about this. Yeah,
it was brutal. But, let's get in this co-main event. I was kind of excited for this co-main event, and it was a pretty good fight. So Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee. I know you didn't get to see this.
I did not. We were talking about this. I'll go on this a little bit. Just my luck with ESPN Plus. I dozed off because I had a long day. I was enjoying the main card, and I thought I'd catch it later. And you can't watch it until the whole, at least until the after show, the post show is over too. But they had the main event loaded up and ready to go, but the co-main event, unfortunately, not. So, good win for Yan. How did McGee look? How did this fight go down?
Yeah, Marcus looked game, but he just wasn't as defensively sound as Yan. So, and then that damage had just worn him down a little bit later in the fight. That was really the only difference. So, Yan looked good. Marcus is still a gamer for sure. So I think he should stick around those top level guys. Hopefully he doesn't drop all the way back down to like fighting number 12 or whatever. But Yan making another claim for a title shot. Yeah.
Yan, it's interesting, especially. Does he have a win over Corey Sandhagen too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting because Corey Sandhagen's getting that title shot. So if Corey does happen to pull it off, he could be right in that mix.
Yeah, this would be fun. All right, let's move on to the main event. Robert Whittaker versus Rainier de Ridder.
All right, here. I was looking to see if this got fighted tonight. Shaw Bullet got fighted tonight, but I was curious because this was a heck of a fight. Very up and down. I thought Whittaker had done enough to win the first round. And then he was getting, I want to say it was in round 3. Like I thought the Ridder was coming back in round 2, but then in round 3, when it was looking bleak, Whittaker catches, he clips the Ridder, and boom, it's like Whittaker. But then Whittaker just looked exhausted at times, like after, like he'd come close to winning, and then the Ridder started to look tired. Personally, I thought Whittaker, maybe I'll go back and watch it, but I thought he won the fight by 1 round.
I also thought he won.
I had it tied up going into the 5th, and I thought Whittaker did just enough in the 5th. I thought it was funny. The Ridder was nothing but respectful afterwards, but I thought if you read his expression on his face, he looked really confused that it was a split decision in his scorecards, and I'm thinking like, bro, it was a close fight. I don't know what.
Because he comes from one championship.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway, bummer for Whittaker, who was game. But, I think he's just at that stage of his career now that he's not going to be fighting for the title again. We'll see what he does next. And the Ridder, great game fight. We'll have to see where he goes. To me, I don't see him necessarily beating a Duplessis or a Chimaev or anything like that.
I'd love to see him in Chimaev. I'd love to see him try to use that grappling on Chimaev.
Yeah. So it's like, he's had some interesting matchups. Bo Nickel, who, quite frankly, he was able to take advantage because of the experience level. And in this fight, Whittaker, who's probably on the opposite end after so many wars. So I feel like those have played a hand. But not taking anything away from the guy, too. At the end of the day, you're undefeated in the UFC with 3-0 now, 4-0?
4-0, 3 finishes.
3 finishes, yeah. So, I'm sure he'd like to get a title shot next. I'm going to say he gets a big fight next, and if he wins that, maybe he'll be there. But in the end, hey, good for him.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. I thought Whittaker should have got the nod. Yeah. I thought he did more damage. Both guys got really tired and had bad body language, so sometimes that sways the judging. So maybe that was a variable there. But I did think this was just another example of how clinching an opponent, getting enough points to win rounds. And the more and more I see that, I feel like it's happening more and more. I don't know if I'm just noticing it more and more, but it's bothering me. It's sapping my love of the sport when you can just hold on to someone to win a fight. But
I bet this is how a lot of boxing fans felt about the Klitschko era.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Very similar for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, they say technical, but that's not what I think of when you think of technical.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think you just got to find ways to motivate, but we made the rules to the point where MMA was exciting for a long time because it's able to keep the action standing up. And now people have necessarily found a way around that. I think the key is going to be the sport just has to keep evolving. We'll see where it goes. But yeah,
we're not in a great spot right now, especially when you look at the likes of every exciting fighter is near the end of their career currently. If you think about it, Max, Dustin, Chandler,
even Connor, who he's not, but I mean,
exciting,
it was exciting. Even a guy like Chandler, who gets a lot of knock, but he's been exciting and he's in there. But they don't have many fights left. And I mean, not to pick
even Pineda, Izzy, they're both near the end of their careers. A lot of the people you tune in to watch are not going to be in the sport too much longer. So
so hopefully we can get some exciting new blood in there. That's why a guy like Sean O'Malley was a lot of fun. But no offense to him, you can't. I mean, Marab's a beast, though. He's one of a kind. So
I mean, Merab is the example that all these grapplers should strive for. I mean, he has a superpower in his cardio, so it's different. But he's never just holding on. He's just continuously taking you down and trying to punish you. So, I don't want to say grappling's boring because it's not. It's exciting. But when there's progression and attempts to progress and not just holding on, literally just holding on, it just makes for a long 4 hours of watching fights or whatever it is. So,
yeah. All right. Let's get to this fight night.
Yeah, let's get to this fight night. All right. Prelims. A couple fights to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore could be fun. Probably won't be. And then on the undercard, Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Always got to tune in when Neil Magny fights. He gets a lot of decisions, but he's usually getting knocked around the ring at some point and comes back. So keep an eye out for that. And then Elves Brener versus Esteban Ribovics. We know Ribovics will put on a great fight. He had that, I just was talking about a couple weeks ago. He had that fight of the year candidate with Daniel Zellhuber at UFC Noche. So, and then he's gone on to get a couple wins since, I believe. So that's a fun fight. There was, obviously, the UFC doesn't care about this card either. They can't even update their bout order on their website. They have
We're not sure
the wrong main event. They have the wrong main event because Albazi has pulled out with an undisclosed injury, which we'll talk about. Who his replacement is. That's not changed on the UFC website. And they also have a different bout order than every other website you would go to see such things. So Mateusz Rebecki versus Chris Duncan.
Yeah,
that's probably a fun fight. Couple of Dana White Contender Series guys that could possibly be co-main event. But we're gonna go with Karol Rosa versus Nora Cornolle.
Nora Cornolle.
I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I know. I looked at it first and I thought it was cornhole real quick.
It's French, so it's probably different than that. But
yes, her nickname's Wonder, by the way. Having to use a different site today, I did get some of these people's nicknames, so that was fun. Nora's 9-2, 6 KOs, 2 subs, 1 decision, 3-1 in the UFC, which is fun. Like, how many, of the female fighters in the lower weight classes have that kind of finish rate, So we'll see if that plays a factor. Karol, though, 18-7, 4-2. I'm sorry, 4 KOs, 2 subs, 12 decisions, just the opposite. But she's 7-4 in the UFC, so she's had a lot more UFC fights. I'm going to go with experience. I'll go with Rosa, and I will go by decision. But we shall see. I'm kind of pulling for Nora, though.
Terrible co-main. Nora's 35 with 11 fights. Her biggest test was Jacqueline Cavalcanti, which she lost a split decision to.
I can't believe she had 11 fights in the UFC.
No, 11 total fights.
Yeah, I know.
Karol's been around the UFC for a long time, like you said. She's consistently wins one and loses one. Her last fight was a loss. So I'm going to pick her to win. She's a decision machine, though, so I'm betting she wins by decision over an
she's had 11 fights in the UFC.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, way more fights, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our new main event. This actually, I think, may be an upgrade from our original main event here. So, Hyun-sung Park versus Tatsuro Taira.
Taira 16-1, 5 KOs, 7 subs, 4 decisions, 6-1 in UFC, coming off his first loss to Brandon Royval in a 5-round decision loss. No shame in that whatsoever. Park 10-0, 4 KOs, 5 subs, 1 decisions. And so he's 3-0 in the UFC with all finishes too. So this is fun because this is a big opportunity for Park here. Obviously this is not a card that's going to get a lot of press and it stinks and we've already kind of shit on it. But for Park, this is a great opportunity to get this main event. I don't know why. I'm going to go with Park because I think he, especially on short notice, I'd say he probably should lose this by decision. But I think he's going to find a way to win this. And I'll say he'll get a 3rd round TKO finish. Because sometimes these guys on short notice, they get so motivated for a fight like this and they stay in shape And, he's undefeated. This is a great opportunity for him.
Yeah. Also, last minute replacement could throw off any game plan that Taira had. So
who's coming off his first loss, even though it's a very game opponent. Yeah.
Both guys relatively unknown, but they're both finishers in a division that seriously lacks finishing. So I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I'm not overly confident either way. Like you said, momentum definitely on Park's side, but I'm a fan of Taira for sure. So I'm going to pick him by TKO. I'll say 4th round TKO for Taira.
All right. There we go.
All right.
Tell me what we got coming up one more time. We're getting out of here today.
All right. August 9th, UFC Fight Night. Dolidez versus Hernandez. That's a pretty fun main event. And then August 16th, UFC 319. Duplessis versus Khamzat Chimaev for the middleweight belt. And then August 23rd, UFC Fight Night. Walker versus Zhang. Somebody's going to sleep in that one, probably. It'll be me because it'll be 7 o'clock in the morning.
All right, guys. That's going to be it. Obviously, this was not a fight night that particularly motivated us. Hopefully, we'll have some more good cards coming eventually. UFC had some good pay-per-views, so let's see what happens. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy the fights.